Image courtesy of Epic GamesRachel is a middle school teacher in Chicago. Earlier this month, her students were restless, and she was looking for a way to focus their attention. Then, an idea: she knew the entire class was into Fortnite, the sandbox shooter from Epic Games that's been sweeping its way through the culture the past few months, and decided to use the game in her favor. Having played Fortnite herself, she could speak their language, and made a proposal: if everyone finished their work without a single interruption, they'd hold a big discussion about Fortnite. "You could hear a pin drop in that room," she told me recently. 6th grade teacher Sean Irwin wasn't as lucky. When his students got off task, he'd hear Fortnite murmurs. As part of a project to get kids thinking about careers, many listed pro gamer and Twitch streamer as legitimate possibilities. He eventually banned Fortnite talk. A number of people who spoke to me for this story requested only to use their first names, either as a matter of privacy or because they were not an authorized school spokesperson. It's hard to tell when something moves from popular to cultural phenomenon, but it seems similar to the Ernest Hemingway quote about going bankrupt gradually, and then suddenly. "I knew Fortnite was officially big when my wife's younger sister, who's not into games, asked me if I could explain this Fortnite thing and why all her guy friends were playing it." How long Fortnite remains the talk of the playground is impossible to know, but the students, teachers, and parents I've talked to the past week said they haven't seen something grip the children around them since Minecraft, and to a lesser extent, Five Nights at Freddy's. High school sophomore Bob Pentuick was like a lot of people, including yours truly. He played Fortnite when it came out, when it was being pitched as a co-op tower defense game, and fell off it immediately. But as the start of 2018, all his friends started playing. This is right around the time Fortnite received an important console update, doubling performance. Kids who have never picked up a controller at Bob's school are playing Fortnite because, well, it's what everyone else is doing. "You needed to play Fortnite to remain relevant in school. Watching Fortnite go mobile has allowed it to become almost invasive," he said. "As I write this out, a table of 4 of my classmates are playing together on their phones. It's also become part of the social fabric, one metric by which peers are judged. They link their wins to their social status a bit," said Australian high school teacher Steve Lowe. "The cool kids are not necessarily the best Fortnite players, but they all know who the best ones are. Doesn't matter how old they are, they talk about kids they would know from a bar of soap by their wins." A number of teachers echoed this, observing how some of the biggest introverts are also some of the best Fortnite players in their class, and their expertise has transformed them into bona fide extroverts because everyone's coming to them looking for advice on how to play. "One of my shy new kids has become a walking strategy guide for the other kids," said 5th grade Maryland teacher Nathaniel Dubia. "He loves it." Nathaniel knew something was up when he noticed more and more kids hanging out with a student he'd often associated with being smart but low self-esteem and very quiet. All of a sudden, people hung on his every word during recess and he was suddenly gaining friends. "Turns out he is really good at Fortnite, and was organizing games after school," he said. "It was cool to see him gradually fill that leadership role and watch how it carried over into the classroom. He's way more involved in book discussions and puts his hand up way more often in general. But maybe we already have the best metric to know whether Fortnite is a phenomenon, and it has nothing to do with Twitch concurrents or YouTube views. It's awkward prom invitations." Photo courtesy of Josh Hart. The student being proposed to said, "Yes, I'm told. Young women aren't just being pulled into Fortnite by way of prom invitations they'll joke about 10 years from now, either. The primary demographic of shooters tend to be young men and boys, but phenomenons operate differently, and Fortnite is crossing traditional gender lines. I heard from plenty of parents and teachers who said their daughters were into it, and in some cases, Fortnite became the first time they'd bonded over a shared interest in games." Taylor Carr, for example, teaches at an all-girls school in Ohio, where Fortnite is the topic of conversation, both in terms of their own experiences playing the game and, unsurprisingly, wider complaints about how the game has utterly taken over the lives of every single boy they know. Of the 50 or so students Carr interacts with regularly, 10 said they'd tried Fortnite at least once, while another 6 were playing regularly. But all 50 girls knew about the game. They all had stories of being ignored at parties or just hanging out cause people were playing,